Hello YouTube and happy Wednesday. Today I want to get into those hidden blockers, the hidden inner limitations that are keeping us from achieving the things that we want to do. So the part about personal development that makes it really interesting and really fun, but also really difficult sometimes, is that we don't always see what is holding us back. And I want to give the example of insecurities that we don't know are there, because those are some of the things that I have dealt with the most. Before we dive into it, I'm just gonna give you a heads up. I have 2 dogs, almost 3 dogs. You can hear the last one coming in. I have 3 dogs in the room, and they will eventually be barking. Hopefully they will stay quiet until I'm done with this video. So the part about insecurities is that if you have grown up with insecurities, if insecurity, being an insecure person in one way or the other, is the only thing you've ever really known, it is incredibly hard to figure out how do you start feeling like a confident person. Now, what I did is that I put on the mask of a confident person. I would show up as a confident person. I learned, at some stage in a woman's life, you reach a point where you figure out that the world is not necessarily safe for you. So you should definitely be watching out for potential harms. So are you in an area that doesn't feel safe? Are you around people that don't feel safe? How are you going to manage that situation? And one thing that my older brother taught me at a relatively young age, in my mid-teens, is that people who come across as confident are less likely to be targeted. But if you walk around and you're like, your shoulders up and you're looking around and you're seeming very insecure, scared, you're more likely to be a target. So I very quickly learned how to lift my shoulders, raise my chin and walk down the street, not being scared of eye contact, not feeling afraid in any way. And it has really it saved me in a couple of situations. I remember once in Berlin, this is when I was my late teens, I think, on a trip with a couple of friends from elementary school. And we had some drinks, and these guys started following us around. And my 2 friends, they got really noticeably scared. And what happened is that they would start kind of picking on them. And I would step in between and I would make it a little bit more fun. Not even fun, I don't know if that's the right word. But as an example, one of them said something like, oh, we're dangerous, or something like that. And I just kind of laughed and said, oh yeah, you seem really dangerous, or something like that. And I know for some guys that would be triggering, but I kind of felt the energy of these guys, that they were just messing with us just to mess with us. But the fact that it wasn't really biting, I had another example when I was in high school, and I was with a friend, and it was in the evening time, and there's this group of girls who are they had this kind of young girl gang vibe, and they were messing with us, and I just kind of pretended like nothing was really bothering us. But my friend, she got really scared, she got really worried, and she started crying, and they were they were kicking her a little bit. I don't think they did it hard, but trying to target her. And I just walked around and I was acting like nothing was really bothering. On the inside, I was terrified, but I acted like there was nothing there. And they left me alone. They kind of went for her, and I don't remember how we got out of it. I don't really remember. And the thing is, I actually forgot about the incident relatively quickly after, and she ended up being diagnosed with PTSD over that incident. So it kind of shows that how you show up in a situation can really impact how that situation handles you. Now, where I was coming from is that I learned at a relatively young age to pretend I was confident. And they talk about fake it until you make it. I showed up as someone who was confident, but what I didn't realize is that I didn't know what does a confident person feel like What does a confident person think like? What are the beliefs that a confident person holds? And when it comes to identity work, it is not just about how you show up. It's not about just the things that you do. It's about how do you think, what do you believe, how do you feel, how do you act, how do you engage with other people, what are the thoughts, what are the triggers, what are the assumptions, what are the judgments. All of these things are important when it comes to identity work. And what I was doing was just showing up as a confident person. But the thing is, on the inside, I was very insecure still. So even at a very young age, when I was a child, like small, I was under the understanding that when you're older, like age had a lot to do with how you should respect a person. So because when I was younger than other people, I would feel very small and I would make myself very small and I wouldn't voice too much. Or if I did, it would be more in a banter kind of situation, knowing that I wasn't the person who had the most value in the room. And when I then were with people who were younger than me, I would turn into this very arrogant person. Like, y'all need to respect me because I'm the oldest one here. I'm older than you. And I would not make friends with the people who were in the grades below me. Because I was like, but y'all, you don't know anything because you're too young. You don't know anything about life. As if I knew anything about life at 14. Right? I didn't know anything about life at 14. But it kind of stuck with me for a long time that age was this big deal. And then and even with people who were just like a few months younger than me, I would be like, I'm older than you, right? So it gave me this false sense of confidence in something that actually had nothing to do with my value or what I was able to provide of value to this world. So I would find confidence in these weird things, such as how long had I been alive compared to other people. And I would start finding a need to identify things about me that I could use as something that was inherently more valued. So I would constantly be measuring myself compared to the people that I was with. And I noticed that this pattern kept going. So I would be wearing these masks of confidence based on something that didn't have any substance really. And I would measure it constantly compared to other people instead of comparing just me to me and my own progress. Which means that when I was evaluating my interaction with someone else, it will always come down to a measurement. Where do we stand? And that is incredibly damaging. And for several reasons. One being that you don't actually get to see and appreciate and experience the value of another person because I had the subconscious need to put them down so that I could position myself as higher. But once you get into that work and once you understand that this is all false, there's so many beautiful things that come from this because you realize that there's no such thing as a zero-sum game. There is no it's not like you have to take one piece of the pie when it comes to value. There's no limitations to how much another person can be of value and how much. The more I see another person's value, the more I can appreciate it and the more I can soak in it and the more I can enjoy it and discover it and appreciate it in a very different way than if I have the need to position myself against that person. Because what would happen when I was walking around with a lot of insecurities is that I would see someone who had something that I desired but didn't have. And I couldn't appreciate that person with that value because I needed to find something that could pull them down in terms of how I perceived their value so that I could feel better about myself. And this is what you very often see. These are not things that I'm proud of, by the way. These are not things that I'm proud of, but they're things that I've discovered that happened in the way that I was perceiving others and perceiving myself. And if you're showing up with this false mask of confidence and you're not actually if you're still feeling the insecurities, then there's so many hidden types of behaviors and mindsets and frames that are negatively impacting your energy and your energetic expression, that are irritating and creating a lot of friction because you cannot step into the person who is just completely enjoying and loving and being grateful and accepting and inclusive, because there's this constant measurement. And it took such a long time for me to identify when these things happen. It took a long time for me to identify, because when you're an insecure person who's never felt like a confident person, you don't know what confidence actually feels like. You're sitting there with all of these emotions and all of these internal behaviors. Like, a lot of stuff happens inside here that is never vocalized. And when we don't talk about them, we don't see them. We always need this sense of a mirror. We need this mirror so that we can see what is happening inside of us. And when we don't have these discussions, we don't really know, what do other people do? What do they think? How does it happen to them when these scenarios happen? So when they see someone and they're looking at them and thinking, wow, this person is just so beautiful and they're so smart and they're fit and they're rich and they have all of the things that we usually associate with status, what can I think and do about this person to make me feel better about myself, so I can kind of pull them down? And it's such a bad thing to do for your energy, because first of all, you feel less than just because you admire them. But there's no such thing as less than. We are all miracles. We're all miracles with unlimited potential. And as long as we have a need to pull other people down so we can feel better about themselves, we are limiting our own potential, because we cannot see them for their genius, and we cannot learn from them, because when we have this internal need to pull them down, we have this need to feel better than them, then we cannot appreciate and understand and learn from their genius. So one thing that I've learned how to do is to absolutely love something about other people all the time. All the time I find something that is just incredible about this human being, so that I can put them not on a pedestal, but I can see them in their full light. Because I know that when I sit and I just appreciate them in their full light, and I'm not trying to compare them with me, I can learn from them. I've spent so much time rejecting learnings, rejecting the possibility of learning from someone, because I felt intimidated by them. Or I had this subconscious pattern of immediately just putting them down somehow. Oh, but they're this or they're that, or they're nothing special, or and it would be almost this, like, I would talk about them as, I wouldn't put other people down to other people. I wouldn't talk negatively about them. I would be very mindful about not disrespecting another human being, but on the inside, I would be thinking, they're not that special. They're not that special. Guess what? Every single human being is special. Every single human being is a miracle, which means that I'm a miracle, which is amazing. And creating these frames, this insecurity that I was running around with was damaging my business in ways that I could not anticipate. One being the obvious one. If you're insecure about yourself, how are other people going to be secure in you, and how are they going to want to buy your services? Right? How can you sell someone on your idea of what you're able to do if you don't even believe in you? So that's the one thing, the obvious thing. Another one was, and I didn't see this one coming, is that I was subconsciously rejecting work from people because of my insecurities. Because I felt like, as a coach, I need to know better and be better than the people I coach. That was the mindset that I had. If I'm not better than this person, how can I teach them anything? And if I'm running around with all of these insecurities and I'm subconsciously constantly feeling less than all the other people, how can I work with them as a client? And you might say, well, Rebecca, it does make sense. Why would you not need to be better than someone to coach them? Why wouldn't you not need to know something that they don't know to coach them? Well, because the way that I coach has very little to do with teaching something, and a lot to do with seeing someone. So the most important thing that I do is seeing the person's genius, and seeing, I'm able to, when I work with someone, I hear them speak, I very quickly can see, these are the stories that you're telling yourself that are holding you back. Your potential is completely unlimited. Your genius is exceptional, but you're not able to see it because you're just inside your head and you can't see how amazing you are. So I don't actually need to teach them something. I just need to see them. I need to hear them. And when I'm able to do that, I'm able to be the mirror towards them that they need. I don't actually need to know more about a specific subject to coach someone. I just need to hear them speak. I need to hear what are they talking about when they're talking about themselves. What kind of words are they using when they're talking about their own potential, what they want to do, why they're not doing the things that they want to do, what is holding them back. I can hear the limitations that they're putting on themselves when they're talking about what they want to do because they're trying to make it realistic. I have a great radar when it comes to identifying other people's limiting beliefs because I have sat with my limiting beliefs for as long as I can remember. And I have been tearing them down for as long as I've been able to identify them. So it's not about teaching them, it's about seeing them. And if there's one thing I can do is see them. I can see the genius, I can see the beauty, I can see the potential, I can hear what are the limitations that they're holding. And I can help them mirror that back to them. It's not about me knowing something that they don't know. Very often, in fact, my best clients, they know everything that I know. But because I'm able to see something and because I'm able to frame something in a way that they might not have thought of or in a new way that it just lands differently, then that is enough for them to have that switch. And when people have that switch, that's when they start acting differently. That's when they show up differently. That's when they have different results. So once I realized I don't need to be better than anyone. I was sitting here with these clients. They had way more experience in business than I had. They had way more, more difficult life situations than I have ever sat with. They were dealing with things that I had never dealt with. And I thought to myself, how am I supposed to coach these people? And the very question, how am I supposed to coach these people? They're so much better than me, or they're so much more experienced than me, or they're so much more elevated in all of these life areas than I was. And the very fact that I was asking this question to myself meant that I could not see what I was bringing to the table. So when you're sitting with these insecurities that you, first of all, you don't really realize that they're there because you've never ever not felt them. You've never not had these thoughts. You've never been in a situation where they weren't there. It's like if you have a chip on your shoulder and you've had it your entire life, you don't notice that you have a chip on your shoulder. You have to feel what it's like to not have that chip before you realize it's been there this whole time. It's a very different situation if you grew up without a chip on your shoulder and suddenly you have it, you're like, hey, this is weird. But you've been like this your whole life. How can you see it? How can you understand it? How can you remove it? You don't even know that it's there. So that is why figuring out what is our internal processes, what is happening on the inside here, what are the thoughts, what are the beliefs, what are the feelings? Because the insecurities that I was sitting with didn't show up as thoughts. They didn't show up as, oh wow, that person is so much better than me. In fact, it showed up as very, very differently. It showed up as, I'm totally better than this person. But my insecurity was telling me as a feeling, you're putting up a front because you're feeling insecure. You're acting confident, but you're feeling insecure. And because I only ever knew that feeling when I was seeing someone that I felt was more than me, I didn't know that that was what I was feeling. I didn't know that this was an insecurity. I thought that it was just, me having really cool thoughts about myself. I thought it was the opposite of the insecurity. It wasn't until I figured out, wow, I'm not able to appreciate this person and their genius because I have a need to feel better than them. And I have this need to feel better than them because I feel like I'm not. And if I hadn't had those glasses, the analytical glasses on, if I hadn't put these on and said, wow, something is actually up here. Something is going on here. Why is it that other people can learn from this person and I have this need to reject the learnings that they have because I need to feel better than them? Why do I need to feel better than them? Because I was feeling insecure. So that is why it's so important to put on these goggles, these glasses, this analytical thing that's happening all the time. It is nonstop work. But guess what? Once you get into it, it becomes addictive. You just want to get to learn more and more and more about yourself. You just want to sit more and more and more with what is going on right here. And the coolest thing is that if you have a lot to deal with, like I've had so much to deal with, I could probably write 10 books about it, dealing with depression and eating disorders and social anxieties and fears and all of this. It's like I had this huge negative cloud over me. I used to struggle so much with my sense of self-worth that if I made food when I was living with my ex, like 10 years ago, if I made food and it was too salty, it would ruin my whole night. I would feel so bad about myself because I did not feel like I was good enough at anything. And it was just another thing I couldn't do. Even though I was a good cook, sometimes I put too much salt. I mean, it happens, right? No, it was like the biggest deal. And I would beat myself up over it over and over and over and over again. And I didn't know that that was weird. Like you shouldn't beat yourself up over like one meal you put too much salt in it. Like you'll work it out. Put something that's very not salty and mix it up and you'll figure it out, right? You can save it, you'll be fine. Also, it's just you and him. He's not gonna like stop loving you because you put too much salt in the food. I felt so bad. And whenever I would cook something or bake something and it didn't work out the way I wanted to, I would have a mental breakdown. And I didn't know that was weird. I didn't know that was unusual. And I didn't realize how much it was actually damaging me because I was just constantly walking around with this feeling of not being good enough. And every single thing that could poke me and say you did something that wasn't good enough, I would break down. And this could be several times per day. I mean, I don't know how we stayed together for that long because I was a piece of work, okay? And it took a lot of this internal work to figure out there's no harm done. Just laugh about it and move on. I had to do so much work. And now that the majority of the work is done, I spend most of my days just feeling amazing and feeling good and feeling happy. And now it's in the details. It's in the smaller things like, something is happening here. I wonder where this came from. I wonder where that came from. And it is the work that I've been doing to tear down all of this mess that was going on and replacing it with something that is just joyful and happy and grateful and thankful. And it is in the work of doing that I'm now able to identify, I hear this word, you're using this word a lot. Have you noticed that? What does that tell you, about what you think you should be doing? What does it tell you about what you think about yourself? What does it tell you about the things that you think you're capable of? And because I've been through all of this work and I've been sitting with my analytical glasses so much about myself, that I'm now able to identify when I hear the words and when I sense the emotions and when I sense the energy, that I can say, there's something here, let's dig into that. It's because of that work that I am the coach that I am today. And I would say that I am an excellent coach today because I have so much work, so much experience of working with myself and working with others, that it just comes now way more naturally to me. And I'm continuing to grow and learn and expand and understanding. And the more that the work that I'm doing on myself, the more I'm able to see and hear other people for who they are and not try to judge them. Because even sometimes now I'll meet new people and I feel a judgment coming. But the cool thing is that I've noticed this is what it feels like to get one of those judgments in. And instead of continuing to judge that person, I put on the glasses I'm saying, hey, where does this come from? This is quite interesting. And I'm able to reframe it. It's like I'm really a big fan of human beings, right? So when I walk around, I get eye contact with someone, I like to give them a big smile or a small smile. This is a smile. And very often I get a smile in return. And it's like, it's so cool with Rwandans because they have very stoic faces. They're like very, amazing looking people. And then when they smile, sometimes it's like the whole face changes and you just get this energy of this warmth and personality, and there's so much coming through. Yet yesterday when I was out on a walk, there was one of the women who were, so we have a lot of women out on the street just swiping, making the whole place look very, very, very clean. And I got eye contact with her and I gave her a smile. And she did the thing where she looks, she looks up and down, and then she looked straight and she just kept walking. And my initial reaction was just like, how dare she? And I started in my head, trash talking her in my head. Fortunately, that took about 10 seconds until I was like, Rebecca, wait a minute. What would make her feel the need to create such a situation where she is putting you down? Because that's what she did, right? What would make her need to do that? And I knew immediately. It's the saying, they say that hurt people. What she did, she needed to put somebody else down because she needs to feel better about herself. And what does it feel like to need to feel better about yourself? If anyone knows, I know it does not feel good. So she does not need my trash talk. She does not need my negative energy. If anything, she needs my love and compassion and understanding. There's no need, there's nothing good coming from me talking, even in my head, negatively about her. There's nothing that benefits from that. I don't feel better about it. If anything, I will only feel better by feeling compassionate and sending her warm, loving vibes. I will never feel better by putting her down. She is not going to feel better. She probably didn't feel anything, but if she is receptive to energies, she would not feel better about me sending her a lot of negative energy. She does not need that. So when you're just constantly thinking about how can I change this situation in a way that it actually benefits the both of us, all of us. And what we very often do, what we're taught and conditioned to and programmed to, is creating situations where we are making it worse for the both of us. The need to put other people down does not actually do anything good for energy. If anything, it damages our energy. We might feel better about it for a little while, like, I'm so good. Throw it there. But it doesn't do anything good for energy. It's a low frequency energy. So all of that to say, keep putting on your analytical goggles, because this is where all of the interesting things happen in the personal development work. And if you have had any experiences with this video that kind of gave you an aha moment, please let me know. If you have any questions, if you have any future suggested topics, please put it in the comments. And if you want to continue hearing content like this, subscribe. I'd love to have you in my space. And I wish you a beautiful, beautiful rest of your week. And I will see you next time. Bye.